Well, let me tell you, brothers and sisters and bros. Hey, guess what's happening here now, man? If you were to go and get a DNA test right after listening to that long classic hit of Kashmir there from good old Zed Zeppelin. Led Zeppelin, yeah, that's what it is. Zed Zeppelin, I like that too, man. Shoot. Whatever they are, there they are, on that ride to Kashmir, just like the rest of us too, baby. But one thing we're getting clear here on this Spring Creek radio show, only on Hazy Radio Network, lovingest little network you ever found, since old Grandpa and Obi-Wan Kenobi, who's the very emulation of love himself. I mean, he takes everybody else's love and reflects it back to him, you know? Oh, wow. Well, gosh, that's kind of like what we do, too, isn't it? Well, you know, one way or another, sometimes the mirror that we wear, that we reflect back with, you know, is a little bit warped, man. Sometimes it's broken and shattered and you only see tiny pieces. Ooh, I don't know. But guess what? We're still made out of love no matter what. And the more we realize that, the more together our little mirror gets. And pretty soon, because we're feeling good about ourselves, we're finally feeling good about everybody else. We're giving them a chance to go ahead and be human if they want to be, but be the divine side of humanity, okay? Don't let nothing get in your way, because we already know that time and space are an illusion. Now, how do we know that? Well, science has proven it through quantum physics somehow. But the reality is we pass in and out of here. And while we're in here, we experience this thing called time and a distance, a spatial thing, you see. But what's the reality? What does our own heart tell us besides what our eyes see? What does our heart be? What do we really see there in that reality? See, when you start seeing beyond the restricted view of the third density, when you open your heart, in other words, then you become clear on what you're all about, dear, and you start to move in that direction, much more holy, W-H-O-L-L-E-Y, something like that. In other words, a more whole person approaches life now, and it's a happy, glittering, glowing soul, made out of the essence of Mary Jane, don't you know? Yeah, the very essence of mother love, in other words, you see. We use a lot of metaphors here in the 3D, but that suggests then the beyonder reality, which really isn't so beyonder now, is it, see? So time and distance, sincerely, because all life is not just interconnected, all life is a replication of itself, of life itself. And as such, it's united in an energy field we call creation, which includes universes and galactic presences and shite like that, okay? Yeah, you're getting clear, dear. I knew you'd get it in hazy radio sort of way. Oh, Grandpa just got to help you come out and play every now and then. Okay, so now there's a lot of super BS going on in this reality right now in the third density. A lot of false flags and false promises and false everything, man. It seems like this whole world's just one big ugly illusion. And the mask is coming off and the darkness is coming out from under the ground. Sleazy stuff is going on here, such as we've never seen before in public places. Now, in background or shoot, it's been a deadly, treacherous world. You don't remember how that works, you can always read the Atomic Bomb. It's a little book I wrote a while back. You can get it on Kindle still for $3.99, man. Can't beat that. But I'm going to raise it to $9.99 pretty soon, because I'm a greedy little sot. Okay? Oh, I'm just playing around with you. But the price is going to go up, doggone it. It's just economics, you know. But anyhow, if you read that, then you got an idea of how it works in the background in everything. This tells a particular story about a particular person and a presence passing through life after life, and the ancestral trail that led to where this person became that person, the little atomic bomb. Good dude, as we call him. Yeah. And, man, you know, it kind of begins with bewilderment and ends with bewilderment, but it makes a lot of sense in between, you know. Bewilderment being, how much better can it be? Boy, I'm just waiting to see what happens now in 3D, you see. So we're rolling beyond all the nastiness, all the bullshit. But darkness has got to show its ugly little face so we can learn to love it again, that it is made out of love, and help it recreate itself in not such a shadowy way, okay? I mean, the skullduggery's entertaining to a point, but when you start killing our friends and relatives with impunity, well, babies, that's where it stops, We're not going back into the Nazi imperialist world of Germany and Japan and Italy and so long ago. We're not doing any of that, It's enough. But see, we don't have to rise up and revolt and start an armed revolution. Good gosh, no. What do, man? What you do quietly, but powerfully. First, you unite with this energy we're sharing here, these rays of love coming from 9,000 feet above or down below, as the case may be. Anyhow, wherever you may be, here's that rays of love coming through you, baby, helping you get to it, helping you find that presence in yourself. Not to center yourself in that presence. Let the heart be the greatest feeling you've ever known. Just let it expand and grow. Is that feeling inside, boy, it's going to help us spread our wings and take flight. So I started out with this morning, talking about all you fine feathered friends out there. And most of you didn't get it. You thought I was singing to the birds, which I am too. But at the same time, the birds are singing back to me and say, hey, what about them human angels, So we got an eye on you, baby. The fly on the wall is the spy on the wall. The bird in the window, well, he knows everything about you, or she, as the case may be, you see. Those are divine little angelic presences come down to be birdies in the 3D. And even if they get eaten by a cat, they figure it's worth it. And they do it. They love it, man. Haven't you noticed? Man, it wasn't too long ago before the old hummingbirds left. They're only here for a few months in the summer. And they just left recently, about, 4 weeks ago, something like that. They get out of here before it gets chilly. They know better. But they one day come out front out here, and I was just taking a little smoke break with my little dog and sitting out soaking up some sun. And these guys come flying by my face and, hey, Daddy, take a look. And they did some unique stunts that I'd never seen. Most birds do, let alone hummingbirds, man, like hammerhead stalls at 80 miles an hour. They get going so fast your eyes could hardly keep up with them, man. These guys were just rocking. They gave me one hell of a show there for just, 5-10 minutes, man. That's all we needed. That's an eternity, for heck's sake. And that moment still lives in me, of course. Here it is again. And I'm not just remembering it, I'm replicating it. Inside of myself, I'm living it as I talk about it, you see. That's what gives so much life to my words sometimes in this rock and roll reality of 3D, is because I do come right from that heart, And that's what I speak from. And this is where most of my knowledge and awareness of what's really going on in this world comes from. And I have to laugh, and I'm sorry, but, I have to laugh at the silliness and the absurdity of the darker presence, how desperate it's getting. But the showers of love coming its way don't stop, do they? 'Cause it's made of love. It can't possibly be, then, darkness. Density. You see, all that is a whole lot of light united. There can't be, because light comes from the inside out, not just the outside in. Both ways, baby. You see, but we've been tricked into thinking we have no light. We've lost the glow. You look at a tree and all you see is a tree. You don't see the glow. You don't see the energy field. Yet you look at a mountain and you can see the glow there. That's very obvious because mountains are really high energy. Well, so are some low places too. Just depends on where you be and who's been there before you, don't you see? Now, there's been a lot of tracks laid down in this 3D. There's been, despite all the darkness going on in the background, which is now trying to become a Nazi empire and take over, the fact and probably has already overtaken the USA, I don't know. But I just see a whole lot of Nazi behavior and imperialist nonsense coming out of our leadership here, if you call it that. Mostly it's just the scumbags that have been crawling around in the darkness there in the background and assassinating folks and stuff, coming out and doing it right in the broad daylight of openness and stuff. You know what I mean? What you gonna do about it? Well, babies, love is the only force there is in life. We can neutralize everything that you're up to here just by releasing the toxicity from ourselves, not allowing ourselves to be soured by the trials and struggles in life, and allow ourselves to embrace them as a part of our life. The tougher part that we knew we were stepping down into probably 1 billion years ago. No, it wasn't that long ago. When we stepped into this form of humanity, it's only been like 25,000 years, maybe 30,000 years. I can't tell, but something like that. You know, we'd been fairly enlightened before that as human beings living on the Mother Earth, though we had spent our time away from her too because she'd kicked us out for a while. You know, she got tired of our nonsense and just flat kicked us out. Says, go away, I'm going to heal myself and rehabilitate myself. So then you get into a scenario a lot like that one television show with Papa Cartwright in it, you know, being a spaceship commander. These were a bunch of earthlings trying to find their way back, you know. Well, it wasn't quite that bad, but, you know, we did for quite some time. And I don't know, because we were probably living outside of time. Can't give it a designation. But we did drift around. All of humanity, you know, became spewed for a while and gave up the flesh for a bit and just floated around, you know, the galaxies and hobnobbed with everybody and got together in a little council there in the 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, well, all the dimensions really. Had a little councils. Well, what are we going to do about it now? But we knew it was all going according to plan because we had lived this before. That's where your feelings of deja vu come from quite often. Not in every case, but in a lot of cases. The idea, oh, I've been here before. Because you have. You've lived every moment of your life before you ever step into it. You see, it's kind of like projection TV or something, but it's not. It's a kind of a fast forward thing. But you and your friends there in the spirit realm get together and you do a little dance and, you know, get a little rock and roll going. And in the flow of that rock and roll, you create a life to live, don't you know? Now, it doesn't have to go exactly according to that trail, and quite often it veers off of it. But for good reason, too. But that's where you plan the initial life. Like I said, there's a lot of flux and flexibility built into it. There are no absolutes. There are no requirements. Just live it. That's all. Just live it. Get through it the best you know how, the best you can. And guess what? You got angels all around you helping you out, and they're not so damned invisible anymore, are they? You know? I mean, at least the force and effect of them's very visible in many lives. And if you've lived any kind of charmed life at all, you know what I'm talking about. You might be like I was, you know, I was a Joe Blitz fix there for a long time, and I lived under a dark cloud and drew a lot of darkness to me. But, you know, out of that comes some of the brightness and brilliance I exhibit now, because it's the same damn thing. When you damn it, it's darkness, and when you bless it, well, what is it? It's light. When you see it for what it is, see? So darkness is the illusion. There isn't any life that doesn't have light in it. Not a one. We're made out of light, for heck's sake. The subatomic particles, they're light, little specks of light. And it's just the way it is. Even the water, the liquid motion feeling of the ocean, is made out of light. Everything is, you know. And this is what you see when you get past the horrors of the 3D. I never forget the end of Apocalypse Now. The horror! The horror! The horror! As what's his face, that famous actor. Can't even remember his name. I don't want to call him Charlton Heston, but it wasn't him. It's the other guy. Plays all those dark parts anyway. Yeah. But that he was the big jungle maniac general gone wild there in Vietnam, and the one that liked to smell. Well, I won't say it, but it was like, wow, you know, that's the illusion. that there can even be a death, let alone destruction, that there could be feelings of hatred anywhere, that anyone could even feel darkness, let alone see it. Yet we live in a world of 3D where there's day and night. Some folks think it's a flat old stage. Well, it's a stage, all right. But look around you. Creation's made of circles everywhere. Only mankind does straight lines and 90-degree corners and shit like that. You know, we're crazy. We're boneheaded, you know. We're thinking with the earthy side of ourselves, which is kind of mechanical, and not allowing our heart to have its presence here, you see. A lot of people been pulled way away from that heart here in the 3D. But guess what? When they pass on, the homecoming on that side for them is just as great as it is for anyone else. And no less either, and no more. You see, that's where the great equity comes in death. That's when you finally realize why you've gone through what you've gone through, at least at another level. And as you're graduating onward, you'll learn a lot more about it too. And you'll remember that time when you created it, because now you're on the other end of it. You see, and that's all time is our experience in the game, the movie of life, you know, which is really kind of like sticking a little, it's like you standing there at a video game, you know, and pushing buttons and pulling levers and so forth, but you're totally involved with the character you've become inside of that machine. See, that's our living reality, that's our living truth. That's what's going on here in third density, because the stuff that we do here, you know, is way beyond possibility when you live in conscious presence. So you can only, you know, put a part of your presence in here, and that's a threat to your whole presence in a way, because you got to get through this without destroying your higher self too, without pulling it down with you, you know. And some of us here lead some pretty dark parts, don't we? Oh, shit. Some people are so callous and, so dead inside, you know. And they look like vampires. You know, even if you see them in the daylight, they still look like vampires. You know, especially as they start to get old and wither. They got all those drugs now, these wonder drugs. They're not telling you about where some certain people think they're going to live forever in the fleshly body because they can keep renewing it, you know, without having to step out of it. But, you know, that's only a drop in the bucket. That's some kind of third density illusion. You see, these bodies were made to wear out, but not necessarily. Once we reached a certain, we de-evolved here. We came down, like I said, some 25, 30,000 years ago, maybe a little longer than that, but somewhere back in there, in the recent time, not millions, but 50,000 or so, even at the most, I'd say. Maybe 60,000, I don't know. But it's back there a ways when we stepped into the presence that we kind of occupy now. It's changed some since then, too, but that was where we stepped into it. And we agreed to park ourselves there in that other reality and become, in a way, separate from ourselves in the third density, in the game, the movie we're making by living it, babies, you see. So we could only put so much of ourselves in here. There were ways to squeeze a little more in one life than another, but it had to have equity. It had to balance out, you see. So if you lived a real enlightened lifetime, the next one might be, you know, kick your butt forever kind of thing. You just, get me out of here, you know. But we get through them, babies, and you know what? We love ourselves for our endurance, if nothing else. It's kind of weird to have your full presence swept up in a game that only part of your presence can play in, isn't it? You see? So what we're doing now here in the third density, inside the machine as well as outside of it, is merging our reality by seeing the love in everything. And then a machine ain't a machine no more. It ain't a cold, mechanical thing. You know, it's a living presence anyway, whether you created it or the universe did, doesn't really matter. It's still a living presence. Everything is. The most inert of objects are still a living presence. They have an energy, a light. That's what they're made out of, same as we are. You know? So my little clay statue of Puff the Magic Dragon, it's got Puff the Magic Dragon in it, man. It's got that kind of energy. It carries that with it. And that's why it's there on my altar. I'm showing the dragon how it is to be a dragon. A happy little dragon. Instead of dragging your ass around and breathing fire and smoke and mirrors and all this stuff, you know. That's the way it be, man. You know, everything has light. Everything has love. Got a little symbolic angel here, made out of wood, carved out by some sweet lady down in Mexico somewhere. And hand-painted, too, man. I couldn't find a better representation of angel to have on my little spaceship crew here than that little statuette. It's awesome. It's gorgeous. And it's got that energy. It caught the innocence of the angel. See, this is why you don't often know your angels in the 3D, because you live a little beyond them. You've sunk a little lower than they can go. So they help you out as much as they can. They're like little helpers in a video game. If you get up there in points, you start getting all kinds of help, don't you? Yeah, see, well, that's what happened to us as we de-evolved, went down to the lowest points, and then from those low points began to reach for the high points of the return, back to ourselves. The whole idea being we would wipe out forever the idea of polarity, and we would begin conscious expansion in life as a presence in life. We would feel then what creation feels in itself. It's kind of like we take this external great spirit, or God presence, as you want to call it that, and we evolve it into ourself, and through ourself we evolve it into all the life that lives, and we feel every bit of it. And we're universally connected with that life, the same way cells and atoms and so forth are inside of our body. You know, so we're a whole experience of the whole reality we're living in, no matter what level we're conscious at. As we grow in this way, we get conscious at all levels. We get that presence in every way. It can't be beat. Not by a day, not by a year, not by a second. And it's always here, that whole presence. Same way as you play the game, you're outside pushing them levers and buttons and shit. I don't know how you do it nowadays. You got those little game things, yeah, little Game Boy thing, yeah, crazy shit. I tell you, but it's like, wow. So that puts, you know, all this space stuff into a relatively different place. I know there's a lot of talk right now about disclosure. We got aliens visiting the Earth, and ETs hanging out, and aliens that we don't know they're aliens because they look just like us, and the person you're sitting beside at work might be one of them aliens, or maybe you are, man, who knows? It's all a bunch of BS in a way. It's a nice story. And, you know, the reality, the truth of it's going to become all too apparent all by itself. We don't have to have a government disclose a God-blessed thing. In fact, they don't know their ass from a hole in the ground. They're government. You know what I mean? Look how inept and doofish they are. And look at the mess whoever did that thing in Las Vegas. You know it was some kind of muff-up on the FBI's part. I mean, this is what you get from looking at the stuff you see on the internet and picking up a little here and a little there, you know, eyewitness accounts and so forth. They really, really messed up on that one. And that's their exposure right there. That's their little teat in the ringer washer, man. And it, you know, they're going down. I mean, I'm sorry, but they really done it to them. But, you know, it's time. We really can't allow a Nazi empire in the 3D to take over. That's just too horrifying to think about. It's been here before, and we've done that I don't know how many times. You know, it wasn't always called Nazi or whatever. I just use that because it's the current terminology for some kind of supremacist piece of doo-doo, thinking they're better than everybody else, therefore they can rule over everybody else and keep the people in fear, therefore keep them under control. You know, you never know if they're going to draw another breath or not, because your gunman might come busting through the door any time if you've been saying something crossways to the way it ought to be, and so forth. You know, the official line on me. You know? Well, babies, we're not going to live in fear like that. You know, here on Turtle Island and many other places around this world, we've had a little taste of free air, of free living, even though we've been enslaved all the way through it, economically and otherwise. But just the same, we've had that. And so that was sufficient right there to start bringing the realms together. Just the idea that we could think ourselves to be free, even though we knew better, you know, but just the idea that we could dream such a dream. What is freedom? That's the ability to live life in peace and go with the flow of it too. That's all it takes. That's all we are. That's what we be, is that flow. But we've been torn away from them. When we check in here into this time machine, well, we check out of life. When we bring a little of it here, and we get really unwise, and we make a lot of, you know, get ourselves stuck in a lot of doo-doo situations, don't we, man? But we always come out of it smelling like a rose, even if we die because of it. You know, because we accomplished the purpose that we really originally came here for, which was to bring humanity up another level by living through a certain element of whatever the tragedy is we needed to do away with. You see, or something along those lines. We're always, every life in humanity is lived in sacrifice. You sacrifice yourself to come here and be some other character for a while. So don't be taking no glory out of any past life memories you might be having and thinking you're Jesus, Joe, and rock and roll. You might well be, man, you know, but that don't mean what's happening now is happening now. See, and not then. This is who you are now. And if you've let this thing make an arrogant little D-head out of yourself, well, then you know what to do about it. Just settle back in the heart. Stop bossing people around. Stop telling untruths and pretending it's true. Stop being arrogant, in other words. Get off your high horse and ride the donkey. Okay? You know, it's a lot more reliable ride anyway, you know, and probably for you quite humbling too, but that's what you need to do. In other words, if you're going to be it, live it. And if you ain't living it, you ain't it. Simple as that. You see, but it is in everyone. That's the tricky part of today. See, now we know that. And now we're also just becoming aware of that. Because it goes through many different levels. But each one of us is JC and Joe and Gandhi and rock and roll and everything that's good about life. We're all made of that sugar and spice and everything nice. Even though it's got a little rock and roll in it, don't it now? I mean, some harsh medicine. We knew when we de-evolved way back when, that was what's going to happen. We knew that. We saw that. We dreamed it. And, you know, even though you can dream it and live it as you dream it in that fast-forward sort of way, it's not the same as being stuck here in time and watching it drag out. You know, I mean, it's not so bad now. Things are speeding up. Time's becoming timeless, finally. You know, because we are becoming wiser inside of ourselves, more connected to that person that seemed to be outside of the machine and sacrificed itself by giving just a little of itself to this life you're living here inside the machine, man. Haven't you noticed the machine-like quality of the cold-hearted beings? You know, how, you know, even government has a machine-like way about it, you know. The whole Nazi idea, just one big old steam engine going down the track. Chug, 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 chug. You know, mechanical as all get out. Mechanical wonder that it even works that way, because that's human beings living 180 degrees from what their true self is. It's the exact opposite of what life here is. The very idea that you can be taken over or controlled by another. or regulated, etc. See, there's a way of being free here that's freer than anything these mother truckers have ever seen. And it's when you allow yourself to expand and grow in the medicine, the flow of life, the flow of love, the eternal awareness that's inside of each one of us. You got to tune your frequencies into it just like you do the radio, man. But once you're there, stay on that channel and go with the flow of that channel. What's a channel? That's where the river flows. You see? And you just flow in it. You're one little molecule in that river, yet you're the whole river and all the life that surrounds it too, see? We're evolving. What would you call it? We de-evolved, now we're re-evolved. We're re-evolving, returning home. That's why you see so many references in a lot of these rock and roll tunes about going home. That's really what it's talking about. Not some little shack by the railroad track where you were so comfortable, but a place in paradise that's really, really nice, and it's where we are. That's where our central essence comes from. And there's a great variety of beings and presences here in humanity energetically, you know. So we don't all have a common home, yet we have a common mother, which is our home, and we're living there now. When you start to see expandedly, that is. Here in the 3D, there ain't much respect for the mother now, is there? But that's changing and changing fast. You notice that the indigenous natives here are being listened to a little bit. They still want to kick their ass around, but you notice they're being listened to a little bit? And that's a start, baby. That's a step in the right direction. You know what I want to see us all do? Just unite our energy for the better outcome of everyone and live our lives in service to that everyone by taking care of ourselves first and foremost, but, you know, making sure everyone else is cared for too. If we're the creative heart of the universe, that shouldn't be too much to do now, should it? See, there's disclosure right there in 3D, man. And you can see it, and you can be it, you can live it. You just got to give yourself the time. You got to step out of life for a little bit to find your life. So some way or another, the universe is going to arrange that opportunity for you if it hasn't already, which I reckon it has for most of you. But once that's arranged, baby, you just go with the flow of that. And babies, we can change the world because it's already changing. And we're seeing the results of it already. Just keep that love united inside of yourself. No matter how much you stumble around and fall or grumble and grow, you know, you can try living inside of my skin. Well, I guess we all are, aren't we? Okay. Have it your way. We all have it a little difficult, in other words. But we just have to make allowances for that. Let the difficulty be what it wants to be, and we'll just be what we are, okay? The more it reveals itself to us, the more we become that. The more that we are that person outside and inside the machine. Because there's only one person. The machine was the illusion. But we found the love in the cold-hearted illusion. We saw the life in the mechanical. We associated ourselves so closely with the machine that we became the machine. But by becoming the machine, we taught ourselves about life. That it's given to all presences. It's the same essence in everything, whether it be a machine or a person or an energy, a power, a flame, a heart, whatever it might be. It's all of those things, don't you see? Lying on the beach in the sunshine, sipping on a pina colada that would never get you too intoxicated, just get you high. Sipping on a little joint, same way, man, you know, and enjoying life like you never did before, because you're the dreamer that dreams the dream you live in. Maybe it takes a leap, a stretch to get here, to get to this place where you can really live your creation. I use a lot of metaphors. We use a lot of metaphors here, to suggest the beyond the realm and the reality of that, the truth. So it's coyote medicine. It's a little sly, a little tricky. But it's cool as all get out when you start to catch on. When you start to see the satiric reality. And then you start to see the comic side of it. Because whatever's done in time can be undone in time too. That's why I talk about going back to the beginning. Because we never left it. We only, remember now, we check in and out of here. We only put a little bit of ourselves in this time thing. The rest of us is still alive and living in whatever you want to call the higher realms. Mothership love, that's what I call it, man. And she's hanging around Earth. She's ready to embrace us all again, man. Because that's the larger Earth. There's not only an inner Earth, there's an outer Earth too that surrounds us that we've been living inside of and didn't know. Thought we were projected outside of it somehow. Kind of like a Hollywood movie set. Something like that we've been living in, A little along the lines, what was that? Did Jim Carrey, what was that movie, Tuckerville or something like that. I can't remember exactly, but, where he was the living member of the movie. Well, we're all like that. And we're all rock stars in this reality, and greatly loved for our performance here, no matter how awful it might have to be at times. You don't ever turn on your loved ones, no matter how life turns you. You might have been married and divorced a little bit. You might have, done what others would consider some real irresponsible things. But you've been working from a responsible heart, which means, you lived it as well as you could. You did the best you could with what you had to operate with in the moment of time you were living. Each one of us tuned in here has had that kind of dedication. It's something we share because we share a common heart, a common vibration. We love good old rock and roll, too. Medicine for our heart and soul. So I'm going to roll on out of here for a little bit and let you guys, munch on that. Be the old cow chewing her cud. Just let her roll around in your heart for a little while. Pretty soon your head will catch on, okay? And we be living life a whole other way.